A lot of people have been asking me, what did I mean by the quick video I said where I was sharing some of the work that I was coming across that said that indigenous identity was exclusively created out of colonization. I have 3 examples to share with you, and these are all for educational purposes. I still use the term indigenous because many people like myself have been de-indigenized and de-tribalized and have been uprooted from our original communities. So I use it, like many folks do, as a placeholder because I don't feel comfortable claiming a nation, and I don't know specifically where my family history comes from what indigenous group. I just know that we were Nahuatl speakers, and I do not know the variant. So giving you that disclaimer is where I am going to share 3 examples of literature of indigenous folks who are rejecting the term indigenous. First example comes from a Mije linguist and activist, Yasnaya Aguilar Gil, who is Mije from Oaxaca, Mexico. And she writes, "We have been Mije for 8,000 years, and out of those 8,000 years, we have been Indian for 500 years, indigenous for 200 years. It is nothing in our history. We can continue being Mije without being indigenous." An example of the Mapuche community, I read, "Remember that the Mapuche people are one of the few peoples called indigenous by the state and international colonial indigenism that do not accept or assume being indigenous or the name Indian." And this comes from a blog called Alianza Territorial Mapuche. And lastly, I wanted to share these words from a speech given by Aníbal Quijano, who was a Peruvian sociologist and philosopher. And he said, "All the populations of the world were indigenized under the European colonial and Eurocentric domination. Everyone was indigenized. In this sense, let me propose, are we all indigenous? Aren't we?" I share all this with you all because I think it's important and crucial that we understand how different communities have navigated this concept of indigenous identity. And what really stands out to me is my understanding of all of this is basically we wouldn't be indigenous without European colonization because of disruption of our identities and our communities is why a lot of us have been using this term. But just keep an open mind as we're studying and as you're decolonizing. It's really important that we understand that we are not a monolith and that there is very diverse points and perspectives within the original communities of Abya Yala. I hope that answers your question. So make sure that you read more by following the sources that I provided.